Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take your sources, really slice them open, and pull out the knowledge you need to be truly informed. And today we're diving into something pretty unique. It's this incredible work of historical fiction, a scenario that's so compelling it really makes you think again about, conviction, loyalty, maybe even faith itself. We're looking at this imagined fateful encounter between two figures from the 15th century who were about as opposed as you could get, ideologically speaking, but equally fierce in their beliefs. Joan of Arc,
Maid of Orleans, yeah.
the Catholic saint, military leader for France, meeting Jan Žižka of Trocnov.
The legendary Hussite general. It's a fascinating premise, pulled mainly from this book, Fateful Meeting. You've got Joan, who's fighting for God and the King of France, face-to-face with Žižka, who, he spent much of his later life fighting against the Pope and the established powers of Europe. And just a quick refresher for anyone who needs it, the Hussites were these radical religious reformers in Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, named after Jan Hus, who was martyred. They were basically proto-Protestants, and the Catholic Church was actively trying to stamp them out.
So yeah, the ultimate loyalist meets the ultimate rebel, and the book puts them together at their absolute lowest point, doesn't it? Captivity.
Exactly. In the shadows of Chillon Castle, right there on Lake Geneva. It's a grim setting.
And Joan is there in the dungeon. She's been betrayed, abandoned by the very king she helped crown. The source says she's holding only an invisible reliquary. Just her faith, really.
Yeah, that's it. And into this silence, this despair, comes Žižka. And the description is powerful. He's almost like a ghost, It says they're united not by being in the same cell, but by the silence between worlds.
Tell us about how he appears, because he's the old warrior, isn't he? Opposite Joan, the young visionary.
Oh, absolutely. He looks like war itself. The text describes this ashen beard, eyes that have seen everything, war and peace, and of course the dark scarf covering his missing eye, a constant reminder of his battles.
But his voice.
It says his voice holds thunder, but paradoxically, he radiates this sense of peace. That's what really hits Joan and us as readers. It's unexpected.
And straight away, Žižka, the rebel general, he shows he knows something incredibly personal about Joan.
He does. He reveals he knows she wrote a letter to the Hussites.
Wow, how would he even know that?
Well, the text implies it's more than just battlefield intelligence. Joan is stunned. She thought those words, written straight from her heart, wouldn't get further than the messenger. But Žižka tells her, no, they were heard. They were received as a sign. A sign, he says, by people who no longer believe that God is represented by cardinals and golden crutches. It's like this immediate recognition, this connection that goes way beyond official church channels.
That shared understanding must have just opened the floodgates, because they immediately get into the deep stuff, the spiritual crisis they're both facing.
Right. Joan confesses her deepest fear. God's silence is more threatening than his anger. For her, silence means abandonment, that her divine voices were maybe not real.
She feels worthless.
Totally. But Žižka, this hardened soldier who actually saw his own spiritual leader, Jan Hus, burned alive by the church. He offers this completely different perspective. He says, silence is a test, not a punishment.
Okay, hang on. Let's unpack that for a second. A test, not a punishment. That's a huge shift in thinking, isn't it? Especially for Joan, who relied on hearing God's voice so directly.
It really is revolutionary. Think about it. If silence is a punishment, then your suffering proves you're bad, you're unworthy. But if it's a test...
And then suffering becomes an opportunity, a way to prove your strength.
Exactly. Žižka's basically saying that real faith, real strength isn't found when God is obviously present and comforting you. It's forged when you keep seeking him even when he seems hidden. It's faith tested by fire, which, fits the whole Hussite ethos perfectly.
So their captivity isn't the end, it's the crucible. It's where their real convictions are forged. Which brings us, I think, to the core philosophical question here. What actually unites these two? Their armies fought the church, sure, but often on opposite sides of other conflicts. What's the common ground?
Well, it really boils down to a shift in loyalty. It's about where ultimate authority lies. Inside with your conscience or outside with an institution like the church or the crown. They're both wrestling with what true faith is and maybe even what truth itself is, especially now that the official answers have failed them.
And Žižka gives voice to this, doesn't he? Drawing on his mentor, Jan Hus. He says, truth is a fire that everyone fears because it burns.
Precisely. And he backs it up with Hus's own words, that famous quote, love the truth, defend the truth, hold on to the truth, learn the truth, and defend the truth to the death. For them, truth isn't some dusty book of rules handed down. It's active. It's a commitment. And yeah, sometimes it hurts.
So Joan, still maybe hoping for reform from within, she asks if it's possible to purify the church.
Right. She's still thinking within that framework. But Žižka's answer, it's calm, but it goes way beyond just cleaning house.
What does he say?
He says, I believe that faith needed to be cleansed from the church. Not the church cleansed, but faith cleansed from it. He argues you find God in the silence of conscience, not necessarily in grand cathedrals or, complex rituals dictated by priests.
Well, that's basically saying God is personal, internal, completely decentralized. But isn't there a risk there? If everyone just follows their own conscience, couldn't that lead to chaos? To anarchy, almost?
That's the tension, absolutely. And Žižka seems to understand that danger, the danger of any single person claiming they have the answer, which is why he adds that crucial bit of wisdom.
Which is?
Whoever claims to own the truth has usually lost it long ago.
Okay, that's powerful. So if you don't own truth, what is it then?
He says truth is light, and the people walking towards it, they're often unsure. They stumble, they doubt, they're groping in the dark trying to find that light. But the ones who confidently claim they already possess the whole truth, they're usually just holding a scepter over others.
So certainty is suspect. The search is what matters.
Right. Claiming ownership of truth becomes about power, about control, not about genuine understanding. The source suggests the real path to truth is humble, maybe even uncomfortable.
And this shared philosophy, this understanding they reach in the dungeon, it's made even more powerful because they've both lived through the ultimate betrayal, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. Joan, denied by the king she served, just like Peter denied Christ in the Bible. Žižka, he literally watched Jan Hus burn in Constance. He saw the institution murder its own conscience.
And that experience changed him forever.
Completely. The sources say he swore an oath right there in the smoke from Hus's pyre that Hus's voice would not be silenced. That moment turned him into a soldier of truth. So their military paths might have looked different, but underneath they were both driven by that personal experience of betrayal and a commitment to an internal truth.
So this intense internal journey they've taken together has to lead somewhere physically, right? It moves towards the escape from Chalon, and it starts with the guard, the key keeper.
Yes, the key keeper. He's listening to them, witnessing their conviction, and it just breaks something in him. He has this crisis of conscience. He realizes his own complicity, saying that a real prison is not made of stone.
Meaning,
the real prison is believing that justice or truth can be locked away or controlled by external forces, by bars and keys. His own beliefs were his prison.
And so he
leaves the key by the door, just leaves it. And he asked them, if anyone asks, to say that they helped him remember who he was before he bought into the system. It's amazing they free his spirit even before they unlock the door.
That's a beautiful moment. So the key is there. Joan asks Žižka, are we ready to run? And his answer just perfectly captures this whole path they've been talking about.
He says, I was never ready, but I always walked. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or feeling totally prepared. It's about acting on that inner conviction, just putting one foot in front of the other because you know you have to.
And they don't escape just for themselves, do they?
No, not at all. Their goal isn't just personal freedom. It's about being a flame for others. They even help a young thief, Pierre, who's in the next cell. Their escape becomes an act of service, not just survival.
And their journey continues outside the prison walls. They pick up companions.
Right. There's Smíšek, this character who remembers Žižka from before and brings laughter back into their grim reality. Wow. And then Gérard, a mercenary soldier who recognizes Žižka and instantly defects, joining their cause. It forms this little band, united not by orders or dogma, but just by choosing to walk this path together.
But this shared path eventually leads to a fork in the road. A really tough decision, especially for Joan.
Yeah, the crossroads moment. Joan realizes she has to go back to France, even though it means facing almost certain danger from the king, the bishops, everyone who betrayed her.
Why? Why not stay with Žižka and find safety?
Because, she says, someone is waiting there. Someone who can still hear you. She's choosing to be that voice, that witness, even if it means her own destruction. It's meaning over survival.
Choosing to be a message.
Exactly. Well, Žižka, Smíšek, and Gérard, they turn east, back towards Bohemia, back to the fight. Their shared journey in the castle and on the road is complete. They've given each other strength.
And their parting words really sum it all up.
They do. Joan tells Žižka he showed her that strength is not in the sword. Think about that the warrior saint realizing her true power isn't military, it's moral. And her final thought, looking towards her own execution, is that when they say she burned,
It wasn't the end, it was the beginning they didn't see. Chills. Just incredible resolve.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? The sources paint this picture where the real victory for Joan and Žižka wasn't on any battlefield, not even escaping the castle. It was in that shared decision, that philosophical alignment.
To put conviction first. To redefine success and failure. Their fates end up looking similar, not because of their specific actions or beliefs about God necessarily, but because they both ultimately decided that loyalty to their own conscience was more important than loyalty to any external power, whether as the Pope or the King.
Joan chooses meaning over safety. Precisely. She walks towards danger, because that's where her purpose lies.
And that idea is perfectly captured in Žižka's final thought on failure, which is where we'll leave you today. He says, "Failure is not that you fall, but when you rise, and you don't know why."
So the question for you, drawing from their story, is this. If you faced a choice between just surviving, getting through, and knowing, truly knowing why you were taking the steps you take, which path would you choose? The sources here suggest the deepest courage lies in knowing your why.